June is the month of the Sacred Heart. Period. Fauci's follies hit prime time, and Senator Marco Rubio says those who were kicked off social media for being conspiracy nuts last year deserve an apology. Meanwhile, as Fauci and Gates head for the tall grass, RTV asks the $64,000 question. What about this guy? He's been with them all along. How much did he know? And when did he know it? Maybe this is why neo-Catholic bean counters are suddenly trotting out Fauci-styled expert testimony in support of the latest distraction out of the Vatican, the Pope's war on Catholic tradition. All that and more tonight from the editor's desk. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Mack coming to you once again from the offices of the Remnant newspaper. So the winds of COVID change continue to change for the better. Even our friends over at Facebook have announced that they're going to stop treating us like little tinfoil-capped retarded children.
Facebook is making a change to its policy concerning COVID-19 posts. The company says it will no longer remove posts that claim the virus was man-made.
Senator Marco Rubio, who's out there now, telling Pope Fauci, who also plays a doctor on TV, by the way, that somebody needs to apologize to us. And you know what? Senator Rubio is absolutely right.
My whole point is there are people out there who had Facebook posts taken down, were called kooks, conspiracy theorists, for saying publicly a year ago what we now say may be possible. And I think those people deserve an apology at a minimum.
Speaking of Pope Fauci, his upcoming book was scrubbed from Amazon this week after a backlash of criticism that he, not unlike the good governor of New York, is profiting from the COVID pandemic.
Many in the country, Lawrence, threw up in their mouth a little bit when they heard that Dr. Anthony Fauci will be releasing a book on the pandemic, thereby profiting off the pandemic.
Can you make this stuff up?
Shoot, I was looking forward to reading it.
For 15 months, he's like a saint. You know, you can't question him. And now it turns out he's just a scoundrel like the rest. That's the thing about this new world of ours. They love to see the rich and powerful and famous fall just as much as they like to set them up again. It's just kind of a game, and that's happening to Dr. Tony now. Finally, after all these months. And the folks in the Wuhan lab are actually thanking the good doctor for a job well done.
Among the many revelations, his correspondence with a key figure linked to the Wuhan lab. Reports showing that a lead researcher personally thanked Fauci for downplaying the COVID lab leak theory early on. This is April of last year now. This comes as many major news outlets are now acknowledging they originally dismissed that possibility.
So, are you still following the science? You still going to drop your Christmas presents off on the curb this year like Miriam and Tirsa Her so your family can come out and collect their goodies because you're following the science? Still got your mask on? Gonna go get vaxxed 4 or 5 times? Following the science? How much is it gonna take for people to wake up? You still think none of this is political? I get carried away because I know most people in this audience, they of course know it's political. So it's like I'm looking past our audience, our friends, our allies, and looking beyond them to the idiots out there in the big, vast, wide world who still think this is about science and still think this is about your health. Who don't think this is political. They're using this thing to take the world over, and you think it's because they care that you're going to get the flu. It's just going on too long. I'm so glad to see it beginning to fall apart. But we have got to make sure now, if this thing actually is falling apart, and it looks to be, we have got to make sure that they don't do this to us again. We've got to learn the lesson. It's perfectly possible. This was a dress rehearsal. This was a dry run for the international climate change lockdowns that they actually have in mind. Personally, I think we're seeing competing interests. I think Bill Gates actually is going down. Anthony Fauci is going down. Where's Klaus Schwab been, by the way? Maybe he really is in a nursing home by now. I'm not sure. We got some basic questions now. Now Fauci's out there lying through his teeth. Everybody knows that. Well, some of us have known that from the beginning. But how about this just for a very basic question? Rather than where exactly or how exactly did the virus, the COVID virus, jump the ship and start killing everybody? Let's just take it a step beyond that, before that. Why exactly are we funding any of this research in communist China, which at the moment is running a genocide against our people, against Christians in China? What are we doing? What are we doing over there to begin with? Pouring money into research with these people, the Chinese communists. You know, Klaus Schwab and the Great Reset Gang, what have they been telling us for the past year or so? We need to change our lives, dang it. We all need to change our lives. We must reimagine the future, the post-COVID future in which we are going to have computers stuck to our heads and no cows, and we're going to be spraying dust at the sun. He wants radical changes. He wants us to make fundamental, radical changes, not only to how we live, but to how we think, how we act, how we behave as human beings. He wants to make us transhuman. Right? Well, how about this? How about we do this instead? How about we tell them? How about we tell the globalists to knock it off, to change their lives, to stop with this research playing God, playing with Mother Nature as they're doing, so that maybe next time, rather than changing the whole world, maybe next time if they would stop doing this kind of thing and letting the viruses get out however it happened, maybe millions of people won't have to die and we actually don't have to outlaw the hamburger. Maybe.
This is a category that often people forget about. Cows actually emit quite a bit of methane, which is one of the more powerful greenhouse gases. And so inventions like artificial meat may have to play a role here.
Following the science? Are you kidding me? How dare you? How dare anyone even use that expression anymore and expect to be taken seriously? Follow the science. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the yellow brick road. It's the same crazy talk. You're going to follow the science and you're going to let these people keep doing this to you. You're going to let Bill Gates shoot the smart dust up at the sun to save us from the climate change. And you're so stupid that you actually go, maybe that'll work. Let's have Bill Gates shoot dust at the sun. Because he's following the science. This man's a maniac. This man's always been a maniac. This man's own wife now is like, holy cow. Guy's unhinged. And we're going to still follow him around, let him do this to our world, do this to ourselves, do this to our children. You're going to let the United Nations and the World Economic Forum in, 8 years, in year 2030, they're going to take down our country so they can establish a new world order, and we don't get to ask any questions? You think this is science? You know, friends, what is happening to us? Seriously, what's going on? What's wrong with us? What have they done to us? You know, where have all the anti-establishment, anti-government hippies gone? Where have all the hippies gone? Seriously, where are they? Where are they? When I was a kid, they were all over the place, protesting everything, not believing anything, apparently. Where are they? They're the guys that should be in charge right now, right? When I was a kid, man, everyone was calling out the media, the politicians, on everything, from Vietnam to the Cold War to Reagan's war on drugs, you name it. What happened? How did we become these brainwashed lemmings? How did it come to be that the most trusted people on the planet today are those who lie to us the most? Politicians, doctors, scientists, the talking heads on TV. That's the worst, isn't it? The talking heads on TV that we believe these people. The hair-plugged, Botox, spray-on tanned phonies that our mothers taught us years ago to take with a grain of salt in every single condition other than possibly if they're doing a weather report. And even then, probably not. I mean, think of the change that's happened over the past 20 years, 10 years. You know, that people are now looking at what's happening on the television and they're believing every single word of it. And now we have more proof. Now we're finding out what this guy Fauci actually knew and didn't know about the Wuhan virus. And it's not going to change anybody. The next expert's going to come along and people are going to continue to listen to CNN and believe it. What do we do about this? You know, it's like we as a civilization have become intoxicated. We're drunk. You know, just every day drinking gulps and gulps of the big gulps from Big Brother's Kool-Aid, factory. And then we sit back and we pat ourselves on the back for following the science. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe we're actually possessed. Maybe we're dealing with demons, because I kind of think maybe that's it. I mean, what if it is? Sort of seems like it, doesn't it? June isn't Pride Month, friends. Just because Anderson Cooper thinks it is? You know this, right? June is the month of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, just as it's been for 500 years, before we went completely insane. They just grab that month and make it Pride Month, and it's Pride Month because, well, we're following the science. We're following people on TV. You see, I'm over here wearing the Sacred Heart pin for a reason every single show, every week, because it demonstrates where my allegiance lies. It lies not with the folks on TV. It lies with the Sacred Heart of Jesus. We're Christians, remember? That's what the thing is that defines us, isn't it? So I wear this because I stand with the Cristeros, the Vendeans, the Carlists, the guys throughout history now who wore the Sacred Heart to show where they stand, to show where their allegiance is, and to show whom they're against. They were wearing this Sacred Heart 200 years ago when they went against the French Revolution. Great Reset. We've done shows on this. So get one of these bad boys. Join the club. Join the International Sacred Heart League. The Remnant has it going up right now. Join that league. You got to pay any money. I'm not raising money here. Just go to our website and do it. Get one of these. You see, because the thing is, they're making war on us. They're making war on Christ. They're making war on the Christian family. They're making war on the Christian nations. They're making war on the Christian God. Everyone's in the middle of the war on marriage, the war on the unborn. Murder in the streets every single day and night, Dead cops, dead kids. Now you would think, wouldn't you, that the Pope of the Catholic Church, even if you're not Catholic, would be out there like John the Baptist preaching it. Repent. The end is coming. Turn back to God. But he's not. And y'all got to ask yourself, why is he not? What is this guy doing? Who's he working for? A pandemic comes along. By definition, throughout the whole world, people are going to die by the millions, they're telling us at the time. People need to take this opportunity then, right now. They're going to turn back to God. They're going to make peace with God, right? Because they're worried they're going to die. That's how we are. Remember, after 9/11, everybody went back to church. Everybody went back to God. After 9/11, guess what happened? The churches stayed open. But Francis made it so that after the latest 9/11, the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, he made it so the churches were closed. So you couldn't go make your peace with God in the middle of a pandemic, a life-threatening moment in time. This has never happened before. Why is the largest denomination, a Christian denomination in the world, shutting down in the face of a disease? You know what? It's because Francis let his globalist friends shut down our churches because he's one of them. He cooperated in the cancellation of Christianity during the plague. He helped them shut down the world by shutting down the church, by canceling the masses, canceling the sacraments, baptism for little babies. People in formerly Catholic countries like Ireland have been waiting a year to baptize their child. What happens, Francis, if that baby dies before he gets baptism? You remember Original Sin? Maybe you've seen pictures. Because that's what baptism is for. 15 months without baptism? Who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for the children who didn't make it to their baptism? Who died first? Now, you don't need to be a Catholic to say something's really wrong here. You don't need to be a Catholic to see the ramifications of the most recognized religious leader in the world canceling Christianity because Bill Gates told him to. And if there was ever any doubt what was actually going on here with this Pope, After a full year now of no access to the Mass and Sacraments, Francis comes waltzing out for absolutely no reason now, and he shut down all the private Masses in the Basilica of St. Peter for no reason. Now, those of you who aren't Catholic might not understand that for 1,000 years, tens of thousands of pilgrim priests went to the Holy City. They wanted to have Mass there at the Basilica of St. Peter. Francis couldn't have that. He shut them all down. Why would he do this? Is it really, Francis, because Christianity stands in the way of your precious reset? Your globalist friends? Is that what it is? You're actually trying to turn the Church of Jesus Christ into the Church of Pachamama? Just really doing? And the sight of the Mass in your own basilica in Rome and St. Peter's makes you anxious? So you cancel it? And I'm not talking about the old Latin Mass here, by the way, you neo-Catholic nerds. I'm talking about the Novus Ordo Mass that he canceled. Isn't it maybe time to wake up and say, wonder why the Pope seems to have a problem with the Mass? It's because for Pope Francis, our help is in the name of globalism, which will remake heaven and earth and all things in the image and likeness of man. You think this is an exaggeration? Then why don't you tell me why this guy's shutting down the Catholic Church right now? He even went out and got himself a green Pope mobile.
US firm Fisker will be supplying the first all-electric Pope mobile for Pope Francis next year. It'll have features such as a solar roof and carpets made of recycled plastic bottles from the ocean.
God help us. You see what's going on with Pope Woke over there? Isn't it embarrassing? Do you know what it's like to be a Catholic right now? It's totally humiliating with this guy. And it's on purpose. The only people that take him seriously are the radicals on the far left. That's it. And we've had our experts over here in the Catholic Church, our Tony Faucis, and they're out there right now telling us to follow the Holy Spirit, okay? Which is a lot like follow the science in the state. You get it? Follow the Holy Spirit. What that actually means is obey the revolution. You know? Those private Masses in St. Peter's, well, they conflict with our Great Reset, with the theology of Vatican II. And if you don't believe me, here's our personal little embarrassing Tony Fauci to explain it for you.
So here Francis has no intention to suppress or silence those who like Latin Mass.
Good one.
But he's saying, look, you can have that Latin Mass, okay, you cannot have the theology of the 16th century that was at the basis of Latin Mass. It's a distinction that it's important because that theology of the 16th century would automatically exclude vast areas of global Catholicism from becoming part of the Catholic Church.
Very, very profound. Never mind that Padre Pio said if we only knew how God regards the sacrifice, this one sacrifice, we would risk our lives to be present at a single sacrifice of the Mass. That's just Padre Pio, though, right? Kind of old world, pre-Vatican II. Yeah, I get it. He was totally not woke, so who cares what he had to say? You see, because Francis, now he's canceled all those single Masses that Padre Pio's talking about, tens of thousands of them per year. And Massimo Fagioli's got no problem with that. He's all for it. I wonder what would happen if Francis put like a naked prostitute over the altar, in the Basilica of St. Peter's and called her the goddess of reason. That'd be okay, Massimo? You kind of like that? That'd be pretty cool because we've been waiting all of our lives to see the church finally do this. You give us some cockamamie explanation. And why do these Masses, by the way, these private Masses that y'all are so eager to get rid of, why are they a problem? Because those Masses violate the community standards of Vatican II.
Mass is essentially, by default, a celebration of the community. And you see a row of the 20, 30 altars where every single bishop celebrated by himself. And so this makes no sense according to the theology of the Second Vatican Council.
It's enough to make you crazy. I mean, it's bad enough that you got infiltrators doing this, but then you got these little men. Oh my gosh, these little toadies bringing up the rear, trying to convince the guy, and the little jackals trying to convince the lion that he's all that and more, And again, friends, even if you're not Catholic, you can easily grasp what's going on here. That old Latin Mass that we're always talking about, it's all about one thing. Again, Protestants, you can get this. Think about this for a second. That Mass is all about worshiping God, okay? The priest faces the opposite direction, doesn't face the people. He uses a language, a liturgical language, just like Christ used a liturgical language at the Last Supper, right? Because it was a liturgical ceremony, the Last Supper was. They faced liturgical west in the Old Testament because that's what that was. The old Latin Mass was all about that. It was all about worshiping God, about rubrics, about doing the highest form of worship to God. You see, this New World religion that they're trying to foist on us, it's not about worshiping God. So that Mass is a huge problem, not only for them, but for the globalists, because it brings a certain percentage of the globe back to worshiping God rather than worshiping man, rather than worshiping the earth, Pachamama, you see? It's a big problem. That Latin Mass is a big problem, whether you're Catholic or not. Francis is leading the charge to get rid of this old Mass, to get this old understanding of Christianity that the old Mass represents, to get it out of the way of the New World Order. Oh, I know, that sounds like a conspiracy theory and a tinfoil hat thing, doesn't it? But that's exactly what he's doing. And they've been at it for a long time. Get rid of the oldest form of Christian worship, because we're taking our focus off of God, off of liturgy, and onto ourselves, and onto our earth. Anything but God. And here's a headline that sort of says it all. There's Francis smiling with the apostate John Kerry. What do you think? Do you think that Francis asked John Kerry when he's going to stop being in favor of killing babies, when he's going to stop going to communion? Probably not. Yeah, not so much. You see, they're all in this together. They're all in this together, and they need the moral authority. I'm talking about the globalists now. They need the moral authority of the Church, of the Vatican, of the Pope, to push this agenda of theirs. As we saw in Davos last year, the celebration of the 50th anniversary of the World Economic Forum, when Francis sent one of his very powerful representatives in, Cardinal Peter Turkson.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to welcome His Eminence Cardinal Turkson, Prefect of the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development of the Vatican City-State, with a special message from His Holiness Pope Francis. Your Eminence, it is a pleasure to welcome you back to Davos. The stage is yours.
This is to Professor Klaus Schwab, Executive Chairman of the World Economic Forum. As the World Economic Forum celebrates its 50th anniversary, I send greetings and prayerful good wishes to all taking part in this year's gathering.
And it just keeps on going. This is why I get so exasperated. Why should I have to connect these dots? It's so obvious. We're not talking about conspiracy theories. We're talking about news reports. We're talking about things that are actually happening. Video all over YouTube. Francis actually invited Tony Fauci to speak at the Vatican conference last month. We covered this, remember?
The Vatican has opened an international conference to discuss the role of the mind, body, and soul in the future of healthcare. The 3-day virtual event explores methods of prevention and preparedness against health crises. It features conversations from leaders in the humanities and scientific communities, such as Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Last year, a little before that conference, Francis's buddy, Jeffrey Sachs, announced that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was going to help Pope Francis help to fund a Vatican initiative. You'll remember this. And who's going to finance this little education process? Global education in the name of the United Nations and the Vatican. Who's going to finance it? Well, speaking in the Vatican just last week again, our old buddy Jeff Sachs tells us exactly who's going to finance it.
A union, major philanthropists, and I've spoken with 3 recently, If we don't find a way to voluntarily lower fertility rates where they are still very high and help stabilize the Earth's population faster than our current trajectory, I think those problems are going to continue to mount.
And bringing us right up to date, on page 88 of Fauci's emails now, which we got a hold of as a result of a FOIA request from BuzzFeed. Check it out, page 88, what do we see? We see that Fauci has a fun little exchange with Jeffrey Sachs. So Jeff Sachs, the Vatican, follow the little bouncing balls now. Jeff Sachs, Francis's pal, the guy who wrote the Sustainable Development Goals, big UN guy, big Great Reset guy, big Klaus Schwab guy, big Vatican guy, speaks at the Vatican all the time, having regular exchanges with Tony Fauci. And now Tony Fauci's going down. So the question is Francis going to go down with him? I certainly would like to see that. And I think Francis is actually worried about that. Which brings us full circle back to the little war on the mass again. Francis, who wasn't up until very recently, was very concerned about plastic straws in the ocean, air conditioning, climate change. Suddenly, he's just freaking out about the Latin Mass again. The same little Latin Mass we were just talking about. Francis is freaking out about that. Now, this is incredibly ironic. Slightly evil, too, but ironic, because the only bright spot in our church, in the Catholic Church today, a church filled with pedophiles, abusers, heretics, and cover-ups, the only bright spot is the explosion of Latin Mass communities all over the world. Large families are back, young priests, vocations through the roof, packed out seminaries for the traditional Latin Mass, brand new orders of nuns in the old habit. It's all coming back. But this cranky, craggy old modernist guy, looking out from his electric Pope-mobile, says, like the Grinch, again, it's time to put a stop to that. There's too much good going out there. Too many large families, too many nuns, too many priests. They're rigid. So he takes a break from his little game that he's playing with Bill Gates to go after the Latin Mass. Are you kidding me? Francis, buddy, what about climate change? What about the Great Reset? You're going to take time away from saving the planet to cancel the Latin Mass in the middle of a pandemic that's killing the whole world? Pope just has to get out there and knock out the old Latin Mass. What for? You don't have to be a Catholic to say, what in the heck is going on in the Catholic Church? I'm going to throw this up on the screen. We're reporting on that this week. The Remnant has independently confirmed that a Vatican document restricting Pope Benedict XVI's apostolic letter, Summorum Pontificum, is backed by at least 2 Vatican cardinals, is in its 3rd draft, and threatens to thwart the growth of the traditional Latin Mass community throughout the world. You know what, friends? Pope Francis is worried. He's worried. Gates is going down, Fauci's going down, Klaus is in a nursing home, presumably. What's going to happen to Francis? Those are all his big, close pals. What's going to happen to him? And you know what he's worried about? He's worried about you. He's worried about me. He's worried about all of us. Because as I said on this show, and I'll go to my grave convinced of this in the case of Francis, I've said so many times, if Pope Francis can't hand the Catholic world, that's us, if he can't hand the Catholic world over completely to the globalists for this new agenda of theirs, he becomes very quickly no use to them. And I think Francis is beginning to see the handwriting on the wall. He's not delivering us, which is why we're out here screaming every week. You don't have us, Francis. You ain't got us. And there's millions of us. You see, that's the problem he's got. And just as the Patriots kicked a hole in the Great Reset, at least for the moment here in America, traditional Catholics are kicking a big old hole in the Francis show right now. They're not going along with this. And the ranks of traditional Catholics are swelling. And guess what? We unite around that old Latin Mass. That's why he's taking it out. You see, he's afraid. That's why he's bringing in the experts now to tell the world why it's high time to mask up and lock down those unruly traditional Catholics. They either pretend we don't exist, or they come out and say that we're a threat to the New World Order. Which is it, guys?
what you think this new guideline for St. Peter's Basilica might do to the existing divisions between the parts of the church that prefer the Tridentine Mass and the parts that prefer the Vatican II Mass.
Short term, I don't think it will mean anything, because we know that those communities that already have a vibrant climate liturgically will continue. And there's nothing wrong about that, as long as we don't think that this is going to be the future of the liturgy and that the old rite will absorb the new rite, because this is the big danger against which Pope Francis is warning us.
Now, like Tony Fauci, this expert is full of crap. You know that, right? Now, his Facebook, his Twitter page are worth checking out because they reveal his actual influence in the world. And guess what that is? Negligible to nil. His videos on YouTube, they sit there for months on end with a view count in the hundreds, never in the thousands. Why? Because nobody cares about this expert. He's an expert, he's an authority on all things Catholic, only because radical media outlets like CNN, America Magazine, Jimmy Martin's deal, only because people like that, lefties like that, tell us that Massimo is like an expert, like Fauci's an expert in the state, you see, in medicine. In reality, Massimo's clueless, and he knows it. I'd just like to make a brief point. We pick up more views in the first few minutes of this show than Fagioli has ever gotten on any video he's ever done. Why? Because nobody's buying his shtick anymore. The neo-Catholic shtick. You got to be a total Massimo, to tell you the truth, to be out there peddling the shtick anymore. Nobody's buying it. It's like putting advertisements on phone poles to come to Woodstock. It's going to be awesome. It happened a long time. It's over. It's over now. You see this whole revolution in the Catholic Church. The effects of it are still here, but the felt banners and the hippies and the guitars and all that, gone. Massimo apparently doesn't realize that. He's pining for them all to come back. You see? The architects of the Great Reset, therefore, friends, we'll use Massimo as Exhibit A, they're not that formidable. And they certainly are not invincible. Francis is freaking out right now over us. In our little Latin Mass communities, full of homeschoolers and people, little ladies making cookies and blue-collar guys just doing their thing, driving their trucks, going hunting on the weekends. That's how traditional Latin Mass communities are made up. The Vatican's freaking out over that? What does that tell you? This is really good news. A scattered but increasingly united federation of clans, friends. That's us. We've had enough. I've been telling you this for a long time. It's not pie in the sky. It's not a pipe dream. We've got the power to do something about this. With God's help, we've kept the faith, and we can do something about this. Francis is out there right now making a papal fool of himself, trying to shut us down in the middle of the pandemic and the world blowing up. Oh my, we got to get rid of that Latin Mass. Well played, Francis. You're giving it all away. And in the meantime, friends, we know we've got so much more power. I got so much more power than you realize. Do not get discouraged. Do not declare defeat. Do not surrender. I say this every week for a reason. You have millennia of truth backing you up every day. You got 75 million patriots on your side in this country, and guess what? God is on your side. Don't let these people intimidate you. Don't let them bully you. The faith that sets us all free can make us invincible if we keep it. So keep it. Keep the faith. Stand your ground. Unite the clans under God. Do all that, friends, and we win. We really will win. And God, in His mercy and providence, is already giving us a snapshot of that victory right now. Look at these men. Fauci and Gates fall. Whoever saw that coming? He's letting us know, in the end, He triumphs. He wins. This is His church. This is His world. and the Faucis and the Gates and the Klaus Schwabs and the Joe Bidens. They're gnats. They're gnats. They're nothing more than that. I'm Michael Matt for Remnant TV. Keep the faith, and we'll see you next week.